Hey everyone, how are you doing? I hope everyone's had a great weekend and is having a great start to their week. And I'm actually doing this broadcast from my home today. I decided it's 9 p.m. here right now. So I'm going to have to speak a little bit more quietly than usual when I do this at the office. But I wanted to see, first of all, today was a little bit of a rough scheduling day for me, so I didn't get to do it during the day. But I also wanted to see if maybe more of you could make it on here when it's, after children's bedtime. Hopefully, all your little ones are already in bed. So, so today I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I see in a lot of people doing, where they're stuck in their job search. They decided like a while ago that they wanted to switch careers, that they wanted to go after something better, something, like a higher paying job, a job with higher satisfaction, a job where they're part of a dynamic team and they get to contribute with their skills and actually be, appreciated and compensated for them. And then somewhere along the way, like there's this slowdown. And I think this slowdown happens because for most people, it's because they've wasted their energy on the wrong things. And it the way to know if you've fallen into this particular trap is if it feels like you've been doing a lot, if it feels like you've been kind of giving it your all and you kind of feel like you're almost spreading yourself too thin, like you're doing everything that you can be doing and like sort of everything you can think of, but it's still not working. So I guess there's like two categories. There's like two ways for people in this category to be. Number one is like they know that they're stuck and they're frustrated because of it. Like they realize that nothing's working. Number two is like they don't even realize that they're stuck because they're so busy being busy and doing all those things that they don't take the time to like lift their head up for a second, take a step back and realize that they're they're they might be moving, but they're not moving forward. They're moving in place. And that kind of led me to think about this Pareto's law, that 80-20 rule, which some of you might be familiar with, but in case you're not, it's basically a law or a rule or like this principle or concept that states that whenever you're doing something, 80% of the outcome or the results actually comes from only 20% of the effort or the input. And usually, I'm used to thinking about this in terms of business and productivity and stuff like that, but I thought this was very, very relevant for you guys and anyone who's job searching, because there's so much fluff in the traditional way that people go about having a job search. There's many reasons for that. I do want to explore some of them. But the point is, there's a lot of wasted energy when people are job searching. And it ends up taking a lot more time and a lot more effort than it needs to take. And ultimately, it can leave you stuck in place. It can leave you frustrated. It can basically leave you, not getting the result of that job that you set out to get, or that role and position that you set out to get, or the company that you've set out to get yourself into. And the thing is, we spend so much of our time in the 80%, the other 80%, the 80% that doesn't yield the results. And we do all these things, right? Like there's just all this laundry list of things that we do. going to meetups, writing our resumes and filling out applications and doing research on companies, and networking and stuff like that, and just figuring it out for a really long time. And sometimes, oftentimes, those things don't really get us the results that we want to see. And so I wanted to talk specifically about one of those time-wasting activities, and it is what I call the myth of the resume. And I wanted to talk specifically about that one because what I found is that every time, I talk to someone about what are the next steps that they need to take. We talk about getting getting a job and what job they want, and I ask them just out of curiosity, so what are you doing now? Like, what are you going to do about it now that you know that you want to, get a job or get a different job? And most of the time, people will say, "Oh, I guess I need to work on my resume, or I need to brush up my resume." And that's kind of like the go-to thing that people's minds go to when they think about applying for a job or changing jobs and stuff like that. And honestly, there's like so much that's flawed with this type of thinking, because really, it's kind of hiding behind busy work. It feels safe, right? Like we latch on to the first thing, and like the resume seems to be the most obvious thing that we need to do. And so once we realize that we're not satisfied with where we are and we want to transition to a new thing, then obviously we want to know, okay, what do we do? What is the action that I can take? Because the worst thing that you can do is, to know that you want to get somewhere else and have no idea how to get there. And so, we think about, and all this happens in like a fraction of a second, right? We think about, okay, what's the next step that I can do? And the resume is always there to be, the resume always needs working on. The resume always needs tweaking. The resume always needs to be brushed up and perfected. And the truth is that there are so many other things that need to happen before you get to working on your resume in order for your resume to make even a little bit of a difference in the hiring company's mind. So if you want, in other words, if you want your resume to matter, then it just can't be the first thing that you do. Because how do you know what needs to be there? And if you think that your resume is just a collection of what you've done, you are sorely mistaken. Nothing could be farther from the truth, because your resume is your marketing collateral to the world. What kind of marketer would start out by writing out collateral and printing it and putting it out all over the place? I can tell you, not a very successful one, not a very smart one. Unless that marketer is testing a market and how the market reacts to that resume. But that's not what you're doing. That's not your intention when you're sending resumes to companies. It's because you want them to call you back. You want to eventually get hired. You want to move to the next stage with them. And so you can't be looking at your resume as this experimental thing that you can just work on without having any sort of actions or information. And And the thing is, like, after you take these steps, which is like, having extreme clarity around what you want to do, and what kind of company you want to work for and stuff like that, which we've talked about in the past. um, and you have found your way into key people in the company to know like what it is that they're looking for. Then you can actually tailor your resume to exactly what they're looking for, and that's something that's going to stand out much more. Plus, you have done all this other stuff um, in the background that has greatly increased your chances of actually getting invited to talk to someone in the company who can make a decision about you. Um, and I think there's a few reasons why we don't invest in those 20%, because it's obviously, um, wasting time in the 80%. It's almost like the default in whatever domain you take this Pareto's law to. You will find that most of the people are like dabbling in the useless 80%. And then there's like those, shooting stars who have figured out the 20%, and that's where they live. And that's what they're investing their time and energy on. And so I think there's kind of like three main reasons that I found that the people that at least I've gotten to speak to and work with are not, are still stuck in those 80% activities. And one of them is they're kind of hard-headed about how to do things. They don't believe that there's any other way to, they don't believe that there's an easier, more simple, like a smarter way to kind of work smarter, not harder, about the job search. And so they just don't bother. They keep doing it the way that they've always done. And for those people, it's very rare that I manage to change their minds. But one thing that helps is to kind of look at the results that they've gotten until now. Usually, when we talk about results and we bring it to that realm, then they kind of have to admit that their way hasn't really been working. So in other words, when I ask them, okay, so how many offers did you get last month? Oh, well, didn't really, last month was busy for me. It was, the kids were out of school and this and that. Okay, how about the month before that? And very slowly that story unravels, where you find out that they've actually been trying to do this for 6 months their own way, and it's not working for them. So if, sometimes I can manage to unravel that in a way that doesn't intimidate them too much, and then I can help them kind of see the alternative, which is much simpler, and much like more much less painful. And then the other thing is that, and this can be very sneaky, but our mind can play some really nasty tricks on us. And especially for people who, aren't the most self-aware, they will fall into these traps without even knowing. So what I'm talking about is spending your time in busy work and in those 80% because of a fear of what happens if this actually works. What happens if I actually do get invited to an interview? And it's this self-sabotaging thing, this little, very, very sneaky little thing that happens. And it sounds unreal. Like, why would anybody, why would anybody do that to themselves? If they say their goal is to work in high tech and to have this great job, why are they ruining their chances by wasting time in all these busy work activities that don't get them anywhere? And when we dig deep, a lot of times we can find that they're actually afraid of, you know, playing big, maybe because they, you know, they're afraid that it's like out of their league. They're not sure how, you know, if they'll be able to perform consistently at that level. Um, Sometimes because they're not sure if the rest of their life is going to match up to that up leveling, which is something I think I'm going to talk about in, next time, but we'll see. And then, you know, so there's definitely that fear that that it will work, rather than, you know, the first type of um, people who are kind of blocked by thinking that it's not going to work. There's no way it's going to work. These people are actually, their concern, and it's very, very, it's on a very subconscious level, obviously. You know, nobody is going to admit this and say, you know, speak their subconscious and say, oh, I'm filling out all these hundreds of resumes and applications, even though I know that um, it doesn't yield results, because in reality I don't want to get the results, because getting the results scares me. Nobody says that. You know, people find reasons to layer on top of that fear, but when we dig deep, we find out that that fear is the real reason. So there's that. And then there is the obvious um, problem of just not knowing to differentiate between the two. You know, if you are weighing some kind of activity and trying to decide if you should work on it or not, is it worthwhile or not? Is it worth spending your time on it or not? And you don't know if it's going to be one of the things that yields results for you, or it's going to be something that you're just going to do and it's going to not do anything for you. If you don't have that knowledge, then it can be very difficult to make good decisions about what to do. So, you know, for that, it's helpful to, you know, kind of um, learn from people who have done this before, learn from someone, you know, who can sort of guide you step by step. And, you know, fortunately, I have this process that I've built pretty much from scratch. Um, it's worked consistently for myself and for different people across different industries. Um, and I would, you know, that if this is something that could help you, and, you know, you can overcome any hard-headedness about this and kind of empty your cup about what you think you know, um, then, you know, I would love to talk to you. Um, you can you can book a call to speak to me at thisimresistible.com/apply. And basically, you'll just choose a time slot on my calendar. We'll talk for about 45 minutes to an hour at the time that you choose, and we'll take a look at where you are right now in your career, where you want to go, and what you need in order to get there. And I'll sort of help you figure out throughout the conversation where, you know, what it is that you can utilize your skills for. You know, if your skills can be utilized in high tech. Not everyone has the skills suitable. So, and if you don't, I will absolutely tell you. I'll be super honest with you, you know, about what the skills that you have to complete. But if you do have skills that can be transferred and can be valuable in high tech, then I'll tell you, you know, and we'll figure out together where it is that you can be, that you are also interested in. And also we'll talk about what kind of salary level you can command there. And, and, um, and we'll talk about, you know, the process for how you can do that. So again, this call, if I didn't say it already, is completely free. I do this because, you know, I really believe that this type of clarity can really help everyone. And I love helping other moms who are interested in moving to high tech explore that. And also because I know that as we're talking together, you might decide that you want to work with me. You might decide that you want me to guide you along the process that I've built. And you know, if that happens and we find that it's like a good fit for both of us, then we can explore that option. But also, if not, it's totally cool. And either way, everyone that I've spoken to and done this type of call with, have all said, that it's been kind of the most clarifying and most valuable time that they spent thinking or talking or working on their career, which is something, most people don't dive deeply enough into. We kind of talk about it, over dinner parties and when we meet with people and answer the question, like, what do you do? What do you want to do? But we don't actually dig deep enough to really understand our full potential, to really understand what it is that we want, and to totally own that to the highest level possible. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you again. The link is thisimresistible.com/apply, and I hope to speak to you soon. Have a great week, guys.